Okay, once again back at our favorite bonfire down here in Darkroot Basin. I'm intending to eventually get out of this place and not have to use it again, but we'll see. It is useful for many things. One of them I won't actually show off, but I will show the results of it. It's probably going to take a while. But for now, we're actually going to try and get out of this part of Darkroot Basin and head into the other part of Darkroot Garden. I mentioned that there's a way past the Hydra there, and we'll get to it. I want to actually go through that area now. It's much easier to get the Crest of Artorias from Andre and open the door that's out there by that bonfire in Darkroot Garden. Going this way is really not recommended simply because it takes so much longer. There's actually one other shortcut that's a lot faster too. The problem is that the Crest of Artorias is necessary for those shortcuts and costs 20,000 souls. I have a lot of use for souls right now, as pretty much anybody would at this point in the game, so there's not a lot of incentive to go ahead and do that. And since we're already here, it's a lot easier to just go through it that way. There's actually a couple ways you can go once you get to the top of this section. You kind of inch around here to the bridge ladder, and then you climb up. And then you can go one of two ways. You can either just keep heading right, which is actually probably smarter for what I'm going to do eventually, but for now, you can also head left across this old bridge. Now this area past this little area of trees is special, because it has some of the enemies in the game that you're unlikely to ever see if you don't go this way, and they are extremely rare. You can see it creeping in the background over there, right there. That's a cat thing, and it's extremely dangerous. The cat enemies look exactly like the Forest Covenant person, Alvina. They're darker. She's kind of a lighter furred color. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're for. They're just pretty annoying. I forget if they respawn or not, but there's 3 of them, and they're pretty dangerous at this point. You can see we did 300 some damage with the Great Heavy Soul Arrow there, and it's not quite enough to kill it. They also like to run off, which is part of what makes it difficult to use the heavy Soul Arrows on them. One advantage of the regular Soul Arrows, despite being vastly weaker, is that they'll come out faster. So we might have been able to tag this guy with one more, but we would have done a lot less damage. You can also stagger them by breaking their poise, like I just did. And going on this ramp is actually what causes them to want to run away. It's sort of the boundary for their attack radius. I guess it's because of all those trees, they're not really programmed well to navigate them. Now you can see that there's 2 more, and unfortunately these 2 guys come together. I gave this a moment's thought and realized that I'm probably not going to be able to handle both of these guys at once if I'm dealing with the amount of Estus I had to do to take out one of them. So I'm just going to run. And that's not the easiest thing to do, but thankfully I was invincible there while I was getting up, so they couldn't ram into me a second time and kill me. Just got to dodge, get through these trees, and once again that's kind of a boundary for them. They won't follow you forever. And now we are at, essentially, the end of the Darkroot Garden area. There's 2 bosses in Darkroot Garden, one being the Butterfly, one being the Wolf Sith. And this is the area near Sith. This bridge and these doors lead directly to Sith's boss area. Now you might be asking, wait, are we going to fight Sith? Well, no. I could, and sometimes just to be funny, I do fight Sith as the first boss in the game. He's not that hard, but he has pretty high defenses for the options you could fight. But in this case, we're not actually going to fight him. And in fact, we're not going to make him appear at all. One of the unique things about Sif's boss room is that you're not going through a boss fog door. That door that we pass through does turn into a fog door once the battle starts, but Sif's arena is not considered just like a enter here, you are in a boss fight area. So instead we're going to carefully run around the edge of the area, pick up the Hornet ring from behind Artor Is's grave, and then we're just going to run around and leave. As long as you don't approach the sword, Sif won't appear, and that won't trigger the boss battle, obviously. The Hornet ring is pretty neat. It boosts critical attacks, which, for all practical intents and purposes, means it boosts the damage of backstabs and ripostes. Since I've been doing a lot of backstabs, and will be doing a lot of backstabs in the future, it's kind of important that I have that. It's just a generally good ring, and if you're not getting it early, if you're waiting until you actually fight Sif, which you might do very late in the game, you're kind of wasting the opportunity there. Because as I showed, you don't have to actually fight him at all. Now, even if you did trigger the fight, you could probably run behind the grave, grab the ring, and then go ahead and grab that. So it's not that bad. Now we've reached this structure in the middle of Darkroot Garden that spans the chasm. We're going to sneak around to the back here and pick up a very important piece of armor, the stone armor set. Stone armor is basically really heavy armor. It's got super high weight, super high poise, decent defenses, and it's not upgradable. But it's free, and you can get it here pretty much from doing nothing. So obviously it has its major advantages. Now we're going to pick up another fun thing out here in the back part of Darkroot Garden, but to do that, first we got to bait these big mushroom guys. Do not underestimate these huge mushroom guys. They have an enormous amount of hit points, and they hit like trucks. There's two places, I think, in the game where you'll see these guys pretty commonly. In both cases, they are not to be underestimated. The good news is they're very slow. They like to walk. They telegraph their punches very heavily. So we can just lure them away a little bit, open the chest, and grab the enchanted ember. This is one of the magic blacksmith embers. Rickert can make a magic weapon by default, like all the blacksmiths, but Andre, he has one upgrade that he can do from the very beginning, and that's magic to +5. You also notice some graphical glitches here. I think this is because of the resolution patch. The screen will just sort of go blue in this section of the forest. Not really sure why. Anyway, here we are near Alvina, near the Forest Covenant, and beyond this section are a bunch of NPCs who are considered to be members of the Forest Covenant, and they are extremely strong. I'm not sure if they were beefed up a bit for the PC version, or if they're just strong because we're weak right now, but these are very dangerous enemies. The cleric there, who just ran up with the mace, is one of the more annoying ones, simply because he'll spam a group heal if he's hurt at all, or sometimes if anyone else is hurt. Dealing with these two guys at the same time is extremely difficult. And that's not even counting some of the other ones who could run up, such as the thief that's near here that can aggro and try and backstab us, that sort of thing. So how do we deal with these guys, and why do we want to deal with these guys? Well, the why I'll explain in just a little bit. Well, maybe a little more than a little bit, given how much this went. But what I need to show you first is, you see he ran off to heal, and he's now healing the bandit there. Yep, there you go. So dealing with this guy is a little bit difficult. So what we will do is try and train them back. The problem here is that I've still got the two of them on me, and these guys will pretty much follow you to the same extent. So this isn't going to work very well. The axe guy hits hard. He could be very dangerous to us at this point. He is a little bit predictable. So there is that at least. Unfortunately, with the cleric backing him up, it's not really going to be possible to do enough damage to him to kill him. So let's try something else. Something which is absolutely borderline exploitative. And that is this.
Is it not so? My legend traversing of thine own respect. Well, I can what to
Oh, but no, we're not going to establish the covenant.
This is thine
now you notice what those guys have done is they're now not aggro. They're walking back here, but they see me again, and they attack me. The way it works is basically this. These NPCs, as I said, are members of the Forest Hunter Covenant.
Tell me that.
And if you join the Forest Hunter Covenant, these guys are no longer aggressive. The way the game handles it is that the instant that you talk to Alvina, for any reason, every enemy in the forest that's part of the Covenant that's attacking you will stop attacking you. They will do this every single time. Now, normally, you do that, you join the Covenant, and then they stop being aggressive permanently. But if you attack them, or one of them dies even, it's that restrictive, you'll be kicked out of the Covenant, and then they'll attack you again, and Alvina won't talk to you until you absolve yourself with Oswald over in the parish. But, as long as we don't join, these guys will keep attacking us, we can keep fighting them, that sort of thing. So by doing that, I was able to get the cleric to wander off back to his spawn, and pull the bandit separately across the bridge here. However, I wasn't thinking too closely about the possibilities here, and so while I was reasonably successful with this guy, he ended up getting in a lucky shot on me. You can see how much health these guys have. It's crazy. It's as much as one of the lower end bosses. And he kills me. Not the best showing. So yeah, I want to clear those guys out. It's not necessary, actually, in the end, but I want to do it. But since I got a little discouraged there, I decided to go kill Hovel again. This time I have the Hornet ring. And that's going to make things just a little bit easier. Like I said, it's useful if you're backstabbing, and Hovel exposes himself really well to backstabs. The other thing that really helps as a buffer for safety is 100% physical block shield. Even if you have not enough stamina as I do to actually take the hit, Zane had enough stamina where he could just barely have enough left. I have just enough where if I get hit, it pretty much causes my entire stamina bar to deplete and puts me into the stamina break animation. Still, that's better than not. And it allows us to pretty much tank Hovel, pat him in the back there, and just keep going like that. You could also cast spells at him, or use pyromancy, but there is a delay on those, so you got to be careful that he doesn't do a follow-up attack on you. Getting behind him and backstabbing him is a lot easier. Now, the damage isn't spectacular, but part of that is that this is not a highly worked-up Baldur side sword, and it's not a huge amount of damage from magic weapon. So the backstab effect is not that pronounced. If we were using a rapier that was decently leveled, or a bandit knife, it would go a little better. Still, it's not so bad. And now that I think I've got the rhythm down, we should actually be able to take him out as long as he doesn't do any of those instantly turn around and slam you attacks. And finally, we got him. And of course, it's very necessary to taunt all the NPCs that you kill. And Hovel's Ring. The importance of Hovel's Ring is not to be understated. Its main advantage is that it greatly raises your equip burden. Now, not only does that allow you to equip a lot of heavier sets if you have low endurance, but the important thing is that it changes the relationship between your equip burden and the amount of equipment you actually have, and that's an important factor. Equip burden determines your roll speed, and to some extent your run speed, and that's important. We've cut back here to the forest. I've approached this time from the other angle. Instead of crossing the bridge, I've turned left. This puts us a little closer to Alvina's. It also puts us closer to this Claymore Knight, which apparently is a woman, according to the texture scripts and things like that. Rick has a script that actually takes their helmets off, and these are apparently women. And the archer, Ferris, who is shooting at us from up there. Some of these NPCs in the Forest Covenant are inexplicably partially invisible. It's like the effect of one of the sorceries or the fog ring. The main factor of this is that they're harder to see, and lock-on breaks at a closer distance than it otherwise would. Fighting them, as before, is a real pain, so I'm just going to run back and tell Mom.
Oh, thou art here.
And sure enough, they all run away. But I'm still not going to actually join the Covenant. Alvina doesn't care. As long as you don't betray a Covenant, the Covenant Masters really don't care. So betraying a Covenant means actually being in a Covenant and attacking one of the NPCs in it. If you do that, you're going to need to report to Oswald and buy Absolution, which is pretty expensive depending on your soul level. Alternately, you can just not join the Covenant. The only reason it really works in this case is because the Forest Covenant has these aggressive NPCs. Now I'm going to try something a little different. Oh, and then I jump ahead because I died trying it. Again, this time we're going to go for an extreme wimp strategy. We're going to stab this guy in the back. Immediately run to Alvina.
Oh.
And then we are, yes, going to go out and stab this guy in the back again. Run back to Alvina.
Oh.
And stab this guy in the back again. You notice I'm two-handing the Drake Sword? You actually do backstab for more damage when you're two-handed, even though the animations often look fairly similar. By the way, as far as I can tell, you do more damage from a riposte than you do from a backstab. The Hornet Ring does boost both, but the multiplier on the thing seems to be a bit higher. Now this cleric is an annoying guy because of his healing, so if I can, I want to pull him without getting any of these other NPCs. The problem is, if you walk over there to where he is, you're going to get at least the thief, who is pretty dangerous, because he can backstab and riposte you. So we will just use that to pull him. He tried to attack us with his talisman there. Not the most effective plan. His shield is the cleric's starting shield, I think. The east-west shield, it's pretty bad. So we can actually poise break it, probably. And he died. He's the only one that I think heals anybody, so that's pretty useful. But now we have to kind of walk carefully into this area until the thief shows up. He's one of the fog ring NPCs. Oop, major graphical glitch there. This is the only area I've seen any consequences of that with the graphics patch. There he is. He's got a bandit knife. He's kind of like the hollow bandits in that respect. I think he might even be wearing their armor. Could be the thief set, I'm not sure. He has very little block rate and very little poise, but he is extremely dangerous. So let's see what we can do with him. Well, he's making this real easy on us. He's decided to go over there by that cliff and walk right up to it. Okay, he kicks me, block, hit him, and there you go. I hate that guy. You can see the souls that have dropped are pretty high, and they have been that high. They've slightly fixed one of the glitches with these guys. There's a place over there near the Artorias Covenant door that you can use to exploit by dropping most of them off a cliff. They're a little bit more timid about falling off the cliff now. Anyway, we're creeping over to where Ferris is. It's difficult to see, but you can spot a Claymore Knight just barely. And Ferris is over there by that tree with their back to us with the shield. You can see just a vague outline of that. So we're gonna... Now there we are, we're able to lock onto the knight. She's facing away from us. Ferris is also facing away from us, but if we backstab Ferris, pretty good chance that knight's gonna see us. Oh well. Or we will not backstab her. Ferris has a tendency to roll off the cliff like that, which is good because that's what we want. We just want her to die. We don't care about this situation. So we'll quit. And reload. I actually died trying to get it, but to my surprise, it didn't disappear. That glowing thing up there is at Ferris' spawn point, and when an enemy NPC falls off a cliff, if you reload the game, their stuff appears right where they were when they originally started. The advantages of this are that she drops her hat, which is a very neat hat. It doesn't do anything, and it has basically no defenses, but it's neat. And the black bow of Ferris, which is a high-dex scaling bow with good range. It's not really useful to me.
Thou art, tell me.
I'll have okay dex, but I usually prefer the longbow. We will then once more fake the Covenant joining, and we'll kill the bandit and the cleric. This time those two are the only ones that we need to deal with. I just want to have them cleared out of the way, so that they're not bothering me when I do something else.
Oh. Aye.
Wow, they all just love that cliff.
Oh. Aye. If that...
We seriously are going to join the Forest Hunter Covenant here in a second. But first... And no, for whatever reason, Alvina doesn't care if you keep killing her hunters. She only cares if you kill them when you're actually a member. Let's see if we can do something a little different. Just shoot this guy down. He'll heal, but that's fine. We can just interrupt his heal. Strangely, he gets boldly aggressive there instead of camping, retreating, and healing, which is his usual MO. And now with the area somewhat cleared, we can actually go talk to Alvina, and this time we are actually for real going to join the Covenant. The advantage of the Forest Hunter Covenant is if you're wearing the Cat Covenant ring that she gives you here,
And here...
you can invade people in the forest. It's a somewhat common PvP area. You get some items for invading, but that's not really why we're doing it. We're doing it to make Shiva of the East show up.
Don't worry. Great.
He's a member of the Covenant, and he also becomes a merchant in Blighttown, but he only appears if you're a member. He also has this ninja bodyguard, and this guy's important. We're going to walk up and kick him. Kicking an NPC doesn't really count as a hostile act, but it will move them. And this is important because he's standing right next to a cliff. So we kick him off, quit the game, reload, and there's his stuff, including the Dark Wood Grain Ring. This used to be one of the most important rings, but as you can see, we've been kicked out of the Covenant. Not because of a hostile action, but because basically, if anybody in the Forest Covenant happens to die while you're in the forest, the game just kind of treats it as you being responsible and kicks you out. I decided to fight Shiva. This was not a good idea. I'm not really prepared to do it. And I'd rather leave him alive because I do want to see if he'll become a Covenant merchant later, even if his ninja friend is dead, just as long as he's alive. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about having killed him off at this point, because I will fail miserably to actually do so. Shiva's got a couple of really unique bits of gear. His Eastern armor is not unique. You can pick it up elsewhere in the forest. He's using a special weapon. You can get it elsewhere, but his shield is actually unique. And there's some unique things about it, which I would talk about, but I didn't get it from him. I died. So instead, we'll just enjoy our ill-gotten gain. The Darkwood Grain Ring used to be one of the best rings in the game because it let you do these ninja flips instead of rolls. The ninja flips are not only faster, they have less recovery time, and they have more invincibility frames. They are pretty much the best rolls in the game. In the PC version, however, you need to be under 25% equipment burden to do the rolls. Otherwise, your roll doesn't change.